guys, J.A. Graves, physical therapist here on another exciting Mobility Monday. Today we're going to talk about how you can use the pigeon stretch to open up your hips. All right guys, like I said, today we are going to show you how to use a pigeon stretch to help open up your hips. Now, there's a couple different ways you can do this stretch, and I'm going to show you my two favorite ways. Now, the two different ways in which you can do this are going to be dependent upon your current level of flexibility and your current level of comfort doing this particular exercise. Now, I'm lucky enough to have a table here that goes up and down, so I can adjust this table to the most appropriate height for me and my clients. Now, if you don't have that luxury and you're at your house or at the gym, try to find something that is a perfect height for you, and you'll know because you're going to put your leg up there and you're going to feel, wow, this is way too tight, so this surface is probably too high, or you know what, this feels awkward and I'm not really getting a stretch out of it, so the surface might be too low. And you can always use pillows, you can always use pads, anything like that to try to boost the surface a little bit if it's too low. Now, the reason we're doing this stretch is because some people feel like they've got tightness in their glutes and the deep rotators of their hip. Now you're going to see when I do this stretch how it's set up to stretch those muscles in the hip. And there's a couple different ways in which you can do this to get more or less out of the stretch, and everybody's a little bit different. Some people get more out of it by going forward, and some people get more out of it by going side to side. And so how we're going to set this up is you're going to put your leg up on top of the surface, okay? And for me right now, this is pretty comfortable. I don't really feel the stretch, but I don't feel uncomfortable either. So I'm going to stick with this height. Now, like I said, you can stretch in different directions. So you can go off to the right, you can go straight ahead, or you can go off to the left. Those are just three things that you can do. You can do a bunch of other stuff too. Those happen to be my three favorite directions to move for this stretch. Now, a couple of important things here. You want to make sure that you're moving from your hips. What I mean is that you're hinging, so think about pushing your butt back as you lean forward, and that you're not doing this. Okay, you're not just rounding your upper back or your lower back. Okay, you will not get much of a stretch, at least in your hip. You'll probably get a stretch in your back, and if you've got back pain, that may or may not help you. Now, so again, very important, use the hips, push your butt back and hinge at your hips. So here, again, you can go off to the right, you can go straight ahead, or you can go off to the left. Now, if you have hip pain while doing this, and I mean sharp pain, it doesn't feel good, it feels bad, don't do this. But you should feel that therapeutic stretch. And if you're not, again, you might need to elevate the surface. You can put a pillow underneath here, which might make it a little bit easier for you and may allow you to get in that stretch with less discomfort or with less, awkwardness. So again, setting up like this, you can go right, center, or left, and you can also hold the stretch. You don't have to do it dynamic like this. You can hang out in that position. You can put your hands down if you want to and hang out 30 to 60 seconds or whatever's comfortable for you, whatever you feel like gives you the most benefit. Okay, so we're going to move on now to me showing you this stretch on the floor, and I do think that the floor version is a little bit more advanced. So if you're already pretty flexible or you've done this stretch before, the floor version might be best for you. All right, so here we are on the floor. We're taking the same pigeon stretch, and this is just a slightly advanced version. So the way you're going to set up here is on the floor with that leg forward, just as you had it on the table. I'm going to scoot back a little bit so you guys can see better. Okay, so here I am, leg set up just like it is on the table. Now, for me, this is a little bit of a harder stretch to do, but I'm going to show it to you guys anyway. Let me turn a little bit so you can see a little bit better here. So pigeon stretch on the floor looks just like this. Now, if I want to try to get more out of this, more stretch, I can drop down onto my elbows, okay? If I want to get a slightly different stretch, I can drop down onto my elbows to the right or to the left, depending on what I'm trying to accomplish. And again, you can see I have a pretty big gap between my hip and the ground here. You're going to find that you might be able to get all the way down before you feel the stretch. And again, everybody's a little bit different, but this is a much more advanced version because now you have all of your body weight pushing you down into the stretch. So if this is more challenging for you, but you want to try it, I would recommend sticking pillows or foam balance pads or something like that underneath your hip here to make it a little bit more comfortable for you, okay? That way you're not sinking down so far if you're not prepared for that. And again, great stretch for your hips. Most people, after they do this, they feel so much better. They feel very, very loose. I think either version is probably fine. You just have to see where you're at. Again, if you've done this before, you might go straight to the floor. If you haven't, you're very tight. Maybe you're new to exercise and you haven't done a lot of fitness activities recently in the last couple months or last couple of years. Maybe you start on an elevated surface, okay? So either way, there's options for you guys. That's all I have for you, so thank you for tuning in on Mobility Monday. We'll see you next week.